In a quiet village surrounded by forests and rivers, there lived a young boy named Chijioke. He was 19 years old, full of life and curiosity. Everyone in the village knew Chijioke as the boy who never listened to warnings. His parents loved him dearly and often said, "Chijioke, one day your stubbornness will bring trouble." Chijioke would only laugh and say, "I'm not afraid of anything." The village elders always warned the people, "Do not go near the forbidden forest, and never, I say, never, drink from the river that flows through it." The elders believed that spirits lived in those places, spirits that could trick humans into joining their world. But to Chijioke, those were just tales to scare children. One hot afternoon, while most villagers were busy at the market, Chijioke grew restless. He grabbed his small machete and called to his mother, "Mama, I'm going to fetch firewood." His mother looked at him, concerned. "Don't go far, my son. Stay where you can hear the village drums." "Yes, Mama," Chijioke said, running out the door. But Chijioke had no plans to fetch firewood. Today, he wanted to see the forbidden river with his own eyes. As he walked deeper into the forest, the sounds of the village faded behind him. The forest grew darker and colder. The wind seemed to whisper his name, Chijioke. Chijioke. He felt a shiver but brushed it off. "It's just the wind," he said to himself. After walking for a long time, he heard the soft sound of running water. Chijioke pushed through the bushes and froze. In front of him was the most beautiful river he had ever seen. The water was so clear, it reflected the sky like a mirror. The trees around the river stood tall and quiet, as if they were watching him. Chijioke knelt to drink from the cool water. Suddenly, he heard a voice. "Chijioke." He looked up quickly. Across the river stood a girl. She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Her long black hair flowed down to her waist, and her white dress glowed softly in the sunlight. Her smile was gentle, but her eyes held something mysterious. "Who are you?" Chijioke asked, his voice shaking slightly. The girl smiled. "My name is Nneka." "What are you doing here all alone, Chijioke?" Chijioke blinked. "How do you know my name?" "I know many things," Nneka replied. "But you should not be here. This place is not safe for you." Chijioke felt drawn to her, as if an invisible rope was pulling him closer. "I'm not afraid," he said. Nneka's smile grew wider. "You are brave, but curiosity can be dangerous. Go home, Chijioke. Come back tomorrow if you wish to see me again." "Tomorrow?" Chijioke asked, surprised. "Yes. But promise me one thing," Nneka said. "Do not tell anyone you saw me." Chijioke nodded quickly. "I promise." Nneka smiled again, and just like that, she vanished into thin air. The next day, Chijioke woke up before dawn. He couldn't stop thinking about Nneka. Grabbing his machete, he told his mother, "Mama, I'll fetch more firewood today." His mother frowned. "Be careful, my son. Don't go too far." Chijioke nodded and hurried into the forest. When he reached the river, Nneka was already there, waiting for him. Her smile was warm, and her voice was soft as she said, "You kept your promise. You are different from the others." Day after day, Chijioke visited Nneka at the river. She told him stories about a world beyond the forest, a place with no pain, no hunger, and no death. A place where everyone was happy forever. Chijioke was enchanted. He wanted to know more. One day, Nneka held out her hand and said, Chijioke, come with me. Let me show you my home. Chijioke hesitated. Where is your home? Across the river, Nneka said. Chijioke looked at the water. It seemed darker than before, and the air felt heavy. But when he looked at Nneka's face, he forgot his fear. I'll go with you, he said. Nneka smiled and led him into the river. The moment his feet touched the water, everything changed. The sky turned dark, and the river felt ice cold. Chijioke tried to pull back, but Nneka held his hand tightly. Don't be afraid, she whispered. Suddenly, they were standing in a strange place. It was silent, and the air was cold. There were no birds, no trees, just endless mist. Nneka turned to him and said, Chijioke, you are now my husband. You belong to me forever. Chijioke's eyes widened. Your husband? No, I want to go back. My family will be looking for me. Nneka's face changed. Her smile disappeared, and her eyes glowed faintly. You made a promise, Chijioke. You cannot leave. Chijioke's heart pounded. No. I want to go home. But the mist around him grew thicker, and Nneka's voice echoed, You are mine now. Back in the village, Chijioke's mother waited for him to return. As night fell, she grew worried. She called out to the neighbors, Have you seen my son? Chijioke has not come home. The villagers searched the forest, carrying lanterns and calling his name. Chijioke. Chijioke. But the forest was silent. Only the wind replied. An old man shook his head and said, He has been taken by the spirits. He went to the forbidden river. The villagers gathered near the river and prayed, but there was no sign of Chijioke. Years passed, but Chijioke never returned. Some villagers say they still see a shadow near the river, a boy who looks like Chijioke, staring across the water as if he wants to come home. Others say the river whispers at night, calling out to curious souls. Chijioke. Chijioke. To this day, parents in the village warn their children. Do not go near the forbidden forest. Do not drink from the river. If you do, the spirit bride will take you away, and you will never come back. And so, the story of the village boy and the spirit bride remains a tale of warning. Curiosity can open doors that should never be opened.